Hello, this is the reproductive system, chapter 15 of Mariam and Keller. For the learning objectives of this discussion, the by the end of this discussion, the students are able to describe the anatomy of the male and female reproductive systems, explains the functions and hormonal regulation of the reproductive organs, differentiates spermatogenesis, oogenesis, and the reproductive cycles, to discuss fertilization, pregnancy, and developmental changes of the reproductive system, and to relate reproductive anatomy and physiology to common homeostatic imbalances and disorders. So in both male and female reproductive systems, you have the gonads that serve as the primary sex organs. The gonads in the males are the testes, for the females, that is the ovaries. These gonads not only produce hormones but also produce sex cells. The sex cells in the male are the sperm. The sex cell in the female is the ovum or ova, plural. For the male reproductive system, you have the testes, which is the gonads, the ductal system, the part of the reproductive system that delivers the sex cell to the outside, and the external genitalia and the accessory glands. So including the accessory glands are the seminal vesicles, prostate, and bulbourethral gland. In the external genitalia, you have the penis and the scrotum. This sagittal view of the male reproductive organs shows you especially the ductal system and the gonads. This is the frontal view of the reproductive system. So the testes is connected uh, to the trunk of the body by the spermatic cord. And inside this spermatic cord, you have the following structures: the blood vessels, nerves, and ductus deferens or vas deferens. The testis is covered by the tunica albuginea and they are separated by the septa. Inside the testis, you have lobules that contains your seminiferous tubules. It is in here where sperm are produced and are developed. The particular cells involved in the production of the um, testosterone is the interstitial cell. So here, from the seminiferous tubule, the sperm then travels to the rete testis, then into the epididymis. So the epididymis is the start of your ductal system. For the ductal system, you have the epididymis, then the ductus deferens. Your ductus deferens then exit through the spermatic cord. So this is the epididymis, the vas deferens or the ductus deferens that empties the sperm into the urethra. During ejaculation, the smooth muscle walls of the ductus deferens propels the sperm forward so that it reaches the urethra. In vasectomy, this is also the involved structure wherein it is cut to prevent the sperm from reaching the urethra. So this sagittal view, you can see here the ductal system from the epididymis here to the vas deferens that courses through the pelvis running adjacent to the urinary bladder and empties its content to the urethra. You can see here as well that the accessory organs such as your seminal vesicles, your prostate, and your bulbourethral gland empty their contents near the opening of the vas deferens. So the urethra of the male is divided into three segments. It has the prostatic urethra, which is wrapped around by the prostate. You also have the spongy or the penile urethra that courses through the penis, and the membranous urethra that is in between your prostatic and spongy urethra. So these are the three regions or segments of the urethra. And then you have the accessory glands and the semen. The seminal vesicles, you can see here, empties its content to the prostatic urethra, and the secretion of the seminal vesicles contain the following components: fructose, which is the source of energy of the sperm; vitamin C, prostaglandins, and other substances that nourishes and activate the sperm. The other part of the semen produced is from the prostate. The prostate also, or the fluid of the prostate also activate the sperm. The bulbourethral gland, it releases also a fluid or mucus that prepares the urethra for the sperm to pass through. Because without the fluid of the bulbourethral gland, the urethra is has been passed through by the urine. So in order to prepare this area for sperm passage, the bulbourethral gland releases a fluid. The semen, therefore, is a combination of all the fluids released by all these accessory glands. However, the semen should be differentiated from the sperm. Fluid that comes out of the penis during ejaculation is the semen, and it may or may not contain the sperm. So the sperm again comes from the testes. The fluid portion of the sperm is from the fluid portion of the semen rather is from the accessory glands. As for the external genitalia, you have the scrotum and the penis. The scrotum is the sac-like structure that contains your testes and also the epididymis and a portion of your vas deferens. It is hanging, or this serves the testes should be hanging from the trunk, because it for the sperm to develop, it should be slightly below um, the body temperature of the trunk. The penis naman is for intercourse. It has the following structures: the glans penis, which is a sensitive area. Also have the shaft, which contains your erectile tissues. These are the erectile tissues that are being filled with blood when stimulated. So in erection, the penis or the erectile tissues of the penis are being filled with blood. And you also have the prepuce, which is also called your foreskin. So the male reproductive organs or male reproductive system not only produce your sperm but also produce testosterone. For the sperm production, the process of sperm formation starts with the spermatogonium, which is the stem cell found in your testes. This spermatogonium undergoes mitosis in order to replicate itself, para magparami, such that the daughter cell that will further proceed to mitosis are your cell type A And then the daughter cell of the spermatogonium that will proceed with spermatogenesis is your cell type B. So these are the two types of daughter cells from your spermatogonium. Your daughter cell type B will then proceed to spermatogenesis, in which the first phase is the meiosis. The difference between meiosis and mitosis is in mitosis you have daughter cells that have equal number of chromosomes as your mother cell, whereas in meiosis the number of chromosomes of each daughter cell is half of that of the mother. So our body as humans have cells that are is composed of cells that has 46 chromosomes. However, with your spermatogonium, after undergoing meiosis, the daughter cells will only have 23 chromosomes. In after meiosis, you only have 23 chromosomes. So the gametes of the so this is so the reason for that is the 23 chromosomes of the sperm will have to fuse with the egg that also has 23 chromosomes, such that the 23 chromosomes of the sperm and the 23 chromosomes of the egg will comprise the new set of chromosomes of the resulting zygote. So that zygote now has 46 chromosomes. So 23 from the mother, 23 from the father. The zygote now has 46 chromosomes. And the zygote is the first cell of your body that will undergo mitosis or multiple mitosis such that it produces the rest of the cells of the body. After meiosis, the spermatids will then undergo spermogenesis in order to mature as sperm. The mature sperm will then have the tail, the midpiece, and the head, with the head containing the acrosome that will allow the penis, allow the sperm to fuse with the egg. The tail naman is for motility. During puberty, the these are some hormones that are involved. The FSH or the follicle stimulating hormone stimulates the seminiferous tubules to produce the sperm, whereas the luteinizing hormone um, stimulates the interstitial cells of the testes to produce the testosterone. So the FSH in both male and female, there's also the production of your sex cells, whereas your LH is involved in the production of the gonadal hormone. Testosterone, which is the gonadal hormone produced by the testes, is the reason for the development of the secondary sex characteristics. In males, this includes the deepening of the voice because of the enlargement of the thyroid cartilage. We also have increased hair growth, enlargement of skeletal muscles, or increase in skeletal muscle size, and also increase in the bone growth and density. This all the testosterone also increases the sex drive and the development of the male reproductive organ. So this diagram shows how the anterior pituitary gland and the hypothalamus interact with the gonads to produce the androgen, particularly at testosterone, and also in the formation of the sex cell or the sperm. So for the female reproductive system, you still have the gonads in the form of ovaries, The ductal system, which includes your uterine or fallopian tubes, uterus and vagina, and also the external genitalia. This sagittal section shows you an overview of these structures. The ovaries or the gonads of the female not only produce the hormone estrogen and progesterone, but also produce the ovum or the egg cell. Each ovary contains follicles or thousands of follicles that each release these ova. Your ovarian follicles, when stimulated during your menstrual cycle, you one of the follicles will be stimulated to become the primary follicle, which contains the immature oocyte. But as you course through the ovarian cycle, the primary follicle will develop to become the Graafian follicle, which now contains your mature oocyte. Then, by the end of at the middle of the menstrual cycle, the Graafian follicle will release the egg cell in a process called ovulation. And the remnants of the Graafian follicle, after releasing the egg cell, becomes the corpus luteum. This corpus luteum then releases progesterone, which is involved in the preparation of the endometrium. So this diagram shows you the different stages of the follicle, starting with the primary follicle becoming your Graafian follicle. Then after ovulation or release of the oocyte, the Graafian follicle becomes your corpus luteum, and the corpus luteum release progesterone. These are the ductal system structures. From the ovaries, the egg will be released to the fallopian tube. This part here, this tube-like structure is the fallopian tube or the uterine tube. Then connected to the fallopian tube is the uterus. For and outside of the uterus is then your vaginal canal. The uterus have three regions: the fundus, the body, and the corpus, and the cervix. The cervix is the narrow opening of the uterus. So for the ductal system, again, the fallopian tube is the initial part of the ductal system after the release of the oocyte. And this is also the site where the sperm meet with the ovum in order to be fertilized. So the fusion of the sperm and the ovum is called fertilization. And the fertilized egg will then be emptied to the uterus. For the fallopian tube, it has its infundibulum, which is a funnel-shaped end, and the fimbriae, which are the finger-like projections of the infundibulum. As for the uterus, you have again the body, the fundus, and the cervix. And for the layers of the uterus, you have the endometrium, which is the innermost layer, where the fertilized egg will be implanted to develop into a embryo. Next, you have the myometrium, or the middle layer, that is composed of your smooth muscle. This myometrium is the structure involved in dysmenorrhea because the contraction of this muscle produces pain. Also, the myometrium contracts during labor in order to expel the fetus out of the of the uterus. The perimetrium is the outermost layer of the uterus. After the uterus, you have the vagina, which is a passageway that extends from the cervix to the exterior. This is through which the baby can pass through during labor or menstruation will exit. So the main function of the vagina is for copulation or intercourse. As for the external genitalia of the female, these are some of the structures. The mons pubis is inverted triangle area superior to the vulva that has that is lined with pubic hair. The labia has a pair of labia majora and labia minora. The labia majora is composed of skin, whereas the labia minora is positioned inside the labia majora. The vestibule is the area inside the labia minora, and found inside are the clitoris, the urethral orifice, and the vaginal opening, and other openings of different glands. The clitoris is a sensitive organ that is found anterior to the urethral orifice. This is the counterpart of the glans penis, or it has the same tissue. It is the same tissue as that of the glans of the penis. The perineum is the diamond-shaped area, as shown here, that includes the vulva, the anal opening, and everything in between. So the female reproductive system releases an egg in every menstrual cycle, and that is released by only one ovarian follicle. By the age of 40s to 50s, the female will be left with no follicle to release any egg. So during this time, the female enters a phase called menopause, wherein there is no more egg cell left to be ovulated or released from the follicle. The process of producing the ovum is called oogenesis, which I will discuss further in a later slide. The hormone responsible to stimulate oogenesis is the follicle stimulating hormone, or FSH. So these are the steps involved in oogenesis. It starts with the oogonium, or the stem cell that is already present even before the birth of the female. During this time, the oogonium can replicate itself through mitosis to become the primary oocyte. And the primary oocyte will start its meiosis, but will stop during the prophase, or the first prophase of meiosis. During this, after birth, the primary oocyte will not proceed until puberty. And come puberty, in each of the menstrual cycle, wherein the menstrual cycle will last for around 28 days, in one of in during that cycle, only one oocyte will develop and mature through and proceed with the meiosis until it meets with until it is ovulated and meets with the sperm. So The meiosis that starts before birth will actually conclude only after the fertilization with the sperm cell, okay, to become the ovum. So the fertilized egg is the ovum that have just completed meiosis. The hormone involved in producing the follicles is your estrogen. And the estrogen also is responsible for the female sex characteristics. This includes the enlargement of the accessory organs of the female reproductive system, the development of the breasts, appearance of axillary and pubic hair, the increase in fat beneath the skin, particularly in the hips and breasts, the whitening and lightening of the pelvis, and the onset of menses. Progesterone naman is produced by the corpus luteum, which is the remnant of the Graafian follicle. This does not contribute to the appearance of the secondary sexual characteristics. Next part of the presentation is the menstrual cycle, which runs for on average 28 days. So a regular length is 28 days. And these are controlled by your estrogens and progesterone and other hormones such as your FSH and LH. And the anterior pituitary gland also has a role in the cycle. The ovulation, which which is timed with the menstrual cycle, is expected at day 14 of the menstrual cycle. So the stages of the menstrual cycle includes your menstrual phase, proliferative stage, and secretory stage. During the menstrual phase, this is during the this starts with the first day of menses, which can last for 3 to 5 days. The ovarian hormones at this point is at its lowest level, and by after day 5, the growing ovarian follicles are now producing more estrogen. The blood that comes out during this phase is because of the sloughing of the endometrium. So bali na wawaldas yung endometrium of the uterus. During the proliferative stage, there is a regeneration of the endometrium and the estrogen level begin to rise. By the end of the proliferative stage, at day 14, ovulation occurs or the release of ovum occurs. Okay, so this is again day 14, 14 days from the first day of menses. During the secretory phase, after day 14, the levels of progesterone then begin to rise and increase in the blood supply. And then it develops the endometrium or thickens the endometrium, which becomes it more vascular. So during the secretory phase, the increase in progesterone is because of the corpus luteum. Remember, on day 14, the Graafian follicle released its ovum, and the remnant is the corpus luteum. So after day 14, the remnant corpus luteum then release progesterone, which explains the increase of progesterone levels. At the same time, the thickening of the endometrium is because of the progesterone, which is important during the implantation of the egg cell so that the egg cell can implant sa uterus. if there is no fertilization, or if the sperm cell did not meet the egg cell, the corpus luteum will degenerate, and then there is a decrease in the production of progesterone. Because of the decrease in progesterone levels, mamamatay yung endometrial tissue. Then, hence, there will be a sloughing off again of the endometrium, and the subsequent initiation of the menstruation. Okay. If fertilization does occur, or if the sperm cell meet the meets the egg cell, the fertilized egg, um, or your fertilized egg will then implant in your endometrium, and the resulting zygote, which will develop into your embryo, will then start to produce the HCG, or the human chorionic gonadotropin, which will stimulate the corpus luteum to continue producing progesterone. Para even after 14 days of the secretory phase, usual na menstrual cycle, because of the HCG from the embryo, maglalast yung corpus luteum to produce more progesterone. And with that, there will be no sloughing off of the endometrium, and there will be no menstruation kasi hindi na tanggal yung endometrium. This diagrams shows you the timing of the ovarian and the menstrual cycles. The first part, or on the far left, is the day 1 of the dito is the x-axis is time. So ang far left is day 0, in the which is the first day of menstruation. And in here sa gitna is the time of ovulation, day 14. So this diagram shows you the pulsating, no, or the not pulsating, but the increase of the hormones in time with the menstrual cycle. And right before day 14, as you can see, there is a surge of LH and FSH levels. And this triggers the Graafian follicle to release the egg cell. Again, on day 14, this is also the time in the ovarian cycle wherein the Graafian follicle release the egg cell in the process called, or event called, ovulation. Relating the estrogen and the progesterone, the estrogen increases right before ovulation such that it triggers the release of the egg cell from the Graafian follicle. On the other hand, progesterone increase in level during the secretory phase because this is a time wherein you have the corpus luteum. And again, it's the corpus luteum that produces the progesterone. And in here in the menstrual cycle, after 14 days, or after day 14, which is the secretory phase, the endometrium will continue to thicken in preparation for the implantation of the fertilized egg. However, after day 28, the corpus luteum will degenerate. Hence, there will be this will result to the sloughing of the endometrium, which then initiates your menstruation, which is day 1, or day 1 of your menstrual phase. So in obstetrics, we have the following terms. Pregnancy pertains to the time of time from fertilization until the infant is born. Conceptus is the development of the offspring. Um, we define embryo as the period of time as the which occurs during the period of time from fertilization until the week 8, and fetus if it grows more than 9 weeks from until birth. Gestation period is from the date of last period until birth, which is approximately 9 months. So when the sperm cell meets with the egg, they undergo fertilization, combine their genetic material. The resulting cell is the zygote, which then proceeds to mitosis in order to produce new new cells. The the cells will then divide to become a 16-cell ball called the morula. The morula will then become the blastocyst after having 100 cells or more. And by the seventh day from ovulation or 21 days from the first day of menses, the blastocyst will be implanted to the endometrium. So this diagram shows you the events from the ovulation to the fertilization um, and the cell undergoing mitosis to become the morula, the blastocyst, and then its implantation to the endometrium. Now, the sex of the resulting embryo or fetus is first determined as the genetic sex, which is identified by the sex chromosomes of the resulting zygote. So to have so each of the sperm and the egg cell has one sex chromosome. So for example, it can either be X or Y. So the if the resulting zygote has X and Y chromosomes, the resulting embryo or fetus will become a male. If the zygote has XX sex chromosomes, the resulting embryo or fetus is a female. The Y chromosome of the zygote or embryo will then determine, or the fetus rather, the Y chromosome of the fetus will result to the development of the testes. If the fetus has no Y chromosome, in the case of having XX chromosomes, there will be no development of the testicle, and instead it will become the ovary. So the testicle will then produce testosterone, which is the hormone that develops the male external genitalia. If wala namang Y chromosome, there will be no development of the testes. There will be no development of the testes. Hence, there will be no production of testosterone. And without testosterone, there, the external genitalia will become female. And now that all those events occur during birth or before birth. After birth and until puberty, there is no development in the reproductive system. However, on the start of puberty, the testosterone will then start to be produced again in order to develop the testes and scrotum. And in females, the female sex hormones will then develop. especially estrogen, will develop the breast and initiate the menstrual cycle. The first year on which the first menstrual cycle occur is called menarche. After a while, after a after years of menstruation, the female will come to an age wherein all follicles that have egg cells, um, or there will be no follicle left to release any egg cell. So by this time, the the female is unable to release any egg cell. This is called your menopause. Practically or clinically, you can diagnose menopause after a whole year that the female has not menstruated. The following slides shows the different homeostatic imbalances in the reproductive system, starting with the benign prostatic hyperplasia or BPH, wherein the prostate that shrugs or hugs rather the prostatic urethra enlarges and results to the difficulty of urination. Erectile dysfunction or ED is a consistent or recurrent inability to attain and maintain an erection sufficient for satisfactory sexual performance. This can either be, or the cause may be structural or especially in the erectile tissues, if there is any problem um, in the blood flow to the erectile tissues, or it can be hormonal or psychological. Dysmenorrhea is the pain that the female may experience during menstruation. So the structure again responsible for dysmenorrhea is the uterine smooth muscle or the myometrium, which contracts to produce the pain. In PCOS, there is a presence of at least two of of the following three criteria: chronic anovulation, hyperandrogenism, and polycystic ovaries. In chronic anovulation, for a long time, the female is unable to ovulate or menstruate. In hyperandrogenism, the female may be clinically or biochemically described as such if there is an increase in testosterone level or there are secondary male sex characteristics that can be noted on the female because of the increase in testosterone levels. So, example of which is the development of facial hair or the increase in muscle mass. The last criterion is polycystic ovaries, wherein under the ultrasound of the ovaries, there can be noted multiple um, cysts or fluid-filled cysts. Infertility may be observed in both male and female. In male, this can be because of an obstruction in the ductal system, problems in the hormones, environmental estrogen, pesticides, or excessive alcohol, etc. One of the procedures that can be offered in order to identify the cause of male infertility is semen analysis, wherein the semen may be assessed by sperm count, motility, and morphology, the volume of the semen, pH, and fructose content. In female infertility, this can be caused by various factors such as ovulatory dysfunction, tubal or uterine abnormalities, endometriosis, genetic disorders, and lifestyle influences. This is defined as having the inability to achieve pregnancy after 12 months of unprotected intercourse. Couple of cancer in the reproductive system are also quite common. For the females, you have breast cancer, which is the most common cancer diagnosis in women, and the second most common cause of cancer death in women worldwide. This is screened by mammography, wherein the breasts are observed under X-ray, and these are usually offered annually starting the age of 40. So if you have mothers or grandmothers of at least 40 years of age, it is best to advise them for mammography every year. Cervical cancer is the fourth most common cancer among women, and most of the time, or almost all the time, the reason is the infection of the human papilloma virus or HPV. Hence, one way to prevent the cervical cancer is to be injected with uh, the HPV vaccine. Another screening method in order to detect the early development of cervical cancer is through pap smear or your Papa Nicolau smear, which is done every 3 to 5 years, starting 21 years old, as a screening procedure, especially for those people who are actively or who are sexually active, because the human papilloma virus is you can get this virus from sexual intercourse. So screen the early in order to detect the early development of this cancer, it is best to offer pap smear. Prostate cancer naman in male is one of the most commonly diagnosed cancer in males, and one way to det detect this early is through PSA testing or prostate specific antigen testing. We also have the disorders of sexual development, wherein there is a mismatch of the chromosomal sex, of the gonads, of the external genitalia, and of the hormones. So any of these four may not be typical of the sex, male or female. For example, the person may have ovaries as their gonad, pero there is increased level of testosterone, hence the development of the external genitalia, which is conventionally a mismatch of the ovaries. Or you may have the XY chromosome or XY chromosomes, but your body is unable to detect the testosterone. Hence, the developed external genitalia is that of the female. So, kahit na XY chromosome ang cells ng person, external genitalia is that of a female. So, this mismatch between the chromosomal sex, hormones, gonads, and the external genitalia is labeled here in this group of disorder called the disorders of sexual development. And you may have read or heard any of these terms such as intersex hermaphroditism, pseudo hermaphroditism, and these are actually now outdated terms. And the new term for that is again TSD. To conclude, the reproductive system includes specialized male and female organs responsible for gamete production, hormone secretion, and reproduction. The male reproductive functions involve sperm production through spermatogenesis and testosterone secretion by the testes. The female reproductive functions include oogenesis, ovarian hormone production, and regulation of the ovarian and uterine cycles. Fertilization, pregnancy, and embryonic development involve coordination or coordinated reproductive structures and hormonal changes that support the growth of a new individual. And developmental changes such as puberty, menopause, and aging affect reproductive function, while disorders such as infertility, PCOS, BPH, and reproductive cancers disrupt reproductive homeostasis. So that's it for this discussion. Thank you for your attention.